Okay, what I'm doing, and unfortunately I don't have a stand to do it and film at the same time, but what happens in an incubator is every once in a while there's a few eggs in this case there were 13 total, and there's 3 that just haven't hatched. And it's gone too long, and so there's probably something wrong with the chicks inside here. So what I do is I go ahead and I take a very, very delicate instrument, and I just go underneath the shell, and I pop open the shell all the way around to mimic what the chick does as it pips through, and then it will turn within the egg and pip out all along in a semi, kind of line there all the way around the circumference of the egg. And then with its legs, it's constantly flexing and pushing up as it's spinning around, and so it will eventually pop open the top of the egg, and it will pop out or roll out of the egg. That's why when you see eggs hatching, they look like this. Pretty standardly, the chick actually, or the poult in this case, because these are baby turkeys, actually spun around inside the egg, and it pipped through, and then eventually popped off the top. And the way nature has this work is that by spinning in the egg, it's actually separating certain membranes and the umbilical cord, I guess you could say, attaching it to the yolk, then dries off and pulls out, so that there's a safe and secured detachment from the yolk and other membranes inside the egg, and then the poult or the baby chick rolls out. And so that's because these are going so long, I want to see if I have any chance of saving them. I've done this before with baby chickens, and so I'm going to go ahead and act like mama and hatch this egg for the poult. And I will be back with you in a second. Okay, I've now broke away the shell all the way around it, effectively making a top that if this chick was healthy and was pushing hard, it would have popped it open by now. I went ahead and took one of the weaker spots of the inner membrane and peeled it off, and now the next step is to go ahead and try to save this chick. Okay, well, I have pulled the top all the way off, and the sweet little thing is not making any noise, and I must have just not been able to get out of the egg and passed away in its struggle. It's a very, very big little poult inside of a smaller shell, so the poor little thing I don't think has made it, and I'm just trying to stimulate it somehow to get it to wake up, but unfortunately I think the egg was too small, and this one has passed away after trying to pip through. It just got too big for the chick, and it so the neck folds out that way. Oh, poor little thing grew all the way to maturity and then just did not make it. Did not make it. Come on. Come on. Made it all the way this far. And then passed away. Well, it's plenty warm. It was very, very warm in here. It just didn't have the strength to go through. That's unfortunate. Let's see what the other 2 eggs are. Okay, egg number 2, I actually started pipping and then it punctured through, and I could tell that it was rotten inside, so I'm going to remove this egg completely. And it's interesting, it wasn't so rotten that it started smelling bad. It just maybe within the past couple days had gone rotten, and the egg did not get past probably day 22 or so living. Okay, egg number 3 was in the same case as egg number 2, so I am very glad that I didn't just wait and wait and wait. This egg pipped through just slightly, and then she passed away. And I am so sad to see that, but This is part of farming. I mean, this is owning animals, owning farm animals, breeding and raising your own animals. I had 13 eggs in there. We have 10 beautiful baby poults that hatched, and they're very healthy, and they're eating, and they're drinking, and they're warm, and everything's taken care of. We had 2 eggs that actually, partial death halfway through the incubation. And we had this one that made it all the way to the very end, but couldn't get, unfortunately, past the obstacle of pipping through the egg and releasing herself. So, well, that's farming. This is a success, though. 10 out of 13 eggs hatch. These are our eggs. These aren't bought or anything. These are our eggs that our turkeys bred and laid. And 28 days after putting them in the incubator, they hatched. So now what we're going to do is we're going to clean this, completely disinfect it, and we're going to put the next batch in, and 28 days from now we'll have another batch, another group of baby poults to sell off and to keep some. Thank you. Take care. Okay, I've gone ahead and I've disinfected the main console of the incubator, and here is the tray. When you're hatching something out, obviously this thing becomes a hatcher. It's an incubator as it's rotating back and forth and keeping it a good 99.2 or 99.3 degrees for turkeys, 99.7 degrees for chickens, baby chickens. But when it's an incubator, what you have to do is you have to put up these rods. And by putting, I'm just going to quickly do it. I have to do it a little bit more carefully when really sitting up. But you set up these rods like that, and you grab an egg, and you make sure you put the wider side of the egg pointing up. And so I put these a little too short, there we go. But you can see there that by setting it up that way, it won't move around. And I'll give another picture here when it's in its cradle as it rotates up and down, up and down. Okay, here are all the turkey eggs lined up with the inner insert there placed inside the tray to keep the eggs standing upwards as well as to keep them separate and keep them from moving and rolling around as the cradle takes this octagon incubator and rotates it up and down like that. So, and obviously I could fit some more, but I'm just going to go ahead and get this batch started. Now I started here on 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 17. I had 17 eggs in this batch. I had 15 eggs total from the previous batch. What was very impressive to me in the previous batch was that I simply took a bunch of eggs out of our chicken egg basket. We had put the turkey eggs in there just to be eaten. And I decided to grab some and throw it in the incubator just as an experiment, and sure enough I got 10 out of 15 eggs that had survivable poults in them. So here we have 17. We'll count off the calendar 28 days from now. And the reason why the first shot we had was of these inserts taken out and the eggs on their side was that about 1.5 to 3 days before hatching time, it's important to take these out, take this off of the cradle because it no longer needs to rotate up and down, and then it becomes a hatcher, and this tray acts as a protective area heated where the poults can, or the eggs can hatch, and they're in there for the first few hours of life, or the first few days maybe, even if you wanted to, of life. So let's count off the calendar and see 28 days from now what we get out of the 17. Okay, we have the next batch going, 17 eggs like I said just a moment ago. And one thing that I forgot to mention, let me take the lid off real quick, is that a component of incubating eggs that is very important, it's not just heat and it's not just rotation, but it's also water. And you can see a channel, there's 2 channels down here, and what you do in the first stage of incubation is you fill 1/4 of this channel here so that as it rotates back and forth here, the water doesn't just spill out. But then, as I said before, 1.5 to 3 days before hatching, you pull these inserts out, you lay the eggs flat, because right now they're pointing upwards with the wider end of the circumference pointing up. Once you pull all that, it flattens out. When you're in the hatching mode, you fill these two chambers up completely with water because the humidity needs to be high while the chicks or poults try to pip out and hatch from their eggs. So that's it. I can show you the cradle here in a second. Okay, here's the cradle that you use. It sits up there just like that, and in these notches right here, the actual pegs, there's some notches on the side of the octagon that rests nicely on top of the peg, and the rotating mechanism is actually on this side, and it rotates back and forth, and over, I believe, a 30-minute period it does a full rotation, which is really all that is needed. This is meant to mimic what the mother hen does as she takes her beak and she rotates the eggs throughout the day back and forth. And it's a natural instinct that they have to make sure that all sides of the egg are consistent temperature, as well as moving the embryo inside so that it doesn't get attached to any one side of the membrane. Yeah, so pretty interesting stuff. Okay, and here's a demonstration of it rotating. It's now, not all the way left, but pretty darn close. It doesn't rotate completely, or the water will spill out. It rotates to be right about here, and then comes back forward this way, and then back that way, all day long, back and forth. Of the 28 days, it does it for about 25, 26 days, and then you pull it out, take the cradle away, rest the incubator on the countertop, and then they hatch away. So I'll finish this clip up 28 days from now.